Welcome to episode 268 of Friars on the Farm. I'm Donovan, and with me is Roy.
Spring is in the air, Donovan.
Spring is in the air. Every
Oh,
sight
we
and every
got we
sound.
got gloves popping, we got bats cracking, we got
Cracking.
pitchers doing infield drills, we got actual games to watch. There's a game right now on TV. Oh my gosh, we've waited a long time.
We waited a long time, and we happened to podcast, on the night that the game is at night, and it's Tatis's first game. It's Braden Nett's second game, who we'll talk about a little bit here. But first, before we go on, you guys, what I haven't done for a while, what we don't do is ask for a subscription. Subscribe on YouTube. Give us a like. Give us a follow. The more people we have, the higher, the higher the visibility. Give us a follow on all the socials. We're on Instagram. We're on X. We're on Blue Sky. I'm on Blue Sky. I don't think I have Friars on the Farm quite yet on Blue Sky. Please do that. It helps us out a lot. We want to try to build up the YouTube channel this year, this coming season. Also, another thing that we're working on that we're partnering with the El Paso Chihuahuas. If you listen to the last episode with Pete Zamora, and his quote was, managers like good bullpen and three home runs, three-run homers. Well, we put it on a shirt, and that's what it looks like right there. It's really cool. So going through the Chihuahuas, they can sell it in their team store. It'll go out to the players. They can wear it on the field. They've asked Zamo to wear it for a picture to promote it, but he said no way. But I think they're going to have some of the coaches do it. Rightfully so. I mean, who wants to wear a picture of themselves with their own quote? But with all the money that comes through it, they have to pay for shipping. They have to pay for it. They have to make a little bit of a profit. But all the other money, every other cent that goes to it will go to a charity that we haven't decided yet. The El Paso Chihuahua Foundation, who will we hope will greenlight this this project, will give us a list, and we're thinking of something either with children or with dogs, maybe Chihuahua rescue or something to that effect. We're not quite sure, but it's all that money is going to go to them. To a charity of our choice. And you guys get a cool shirt. Like, it's really freaking cool. That'll be coming up as the season gets started. They met today. I haven't heard back yet if we've been green lighted, but the artwork is done, as you guys saw, and our fingers are crossed, and we're pretty sure it's going to go through. And anything that the shirt makes, the foundation will match. So if we sell $500 worth of merch, $500 will be matched. So whatever we do, and this is for the city of El Paso too. So this is going to go out to not just the fans of the podcast and the guys that are watching and listening, and ladies. It's going to go to all the fans in El Paso Chihuahua fan base. It'll be in their team store. We'll be sharing a link when this all gets started, and it's something really cool. We haven't done a fundraiser for a real long time, and I wanted to I wanted to get the Chihuahuas involved because it was Pete Zamora who did the quote, and we needed El Paso to do it so we can have the cool artwork. Use all the El Paso logo, the font, and sell it in their store. So you guys, when it comes out, we'll let you know. But it's coming, we hope. So please support that when you get a chance. I can't wait to get one. It's pretty cool. Yeah, so moving on.
Well, in the meantime, we've been busy all winter.
Yeah.
We've been doing lots of interviews all winter long, but we skipped over all the minor league free agent signings. We talked about Rule 5 draft a little bit, but all that's kind of water under the bridge now that everybody's in camp now, right?
Absolutely. But what I wanted to talk about first was we were going to podcast on the day that Cole Papillon got hit. And I was watching that game. I saw it, and it was just my heart dropped. I mean, it was sickening watching that happen to him. He is all right. He is going to probably he's going to have surgery March 7th, multiple fractures in his face. After surgery, we'll see what happens, but I'm sure, and he was having such a great outing. He's having a really good spring. I just wanted to give a shout out to Cole, and dude, get better, get well. And we can't wait to see you back on the field.
Yeah, and he just came back from Tommy John, and he was,
Yeah.
on the path up and looking so good.
Yeah.
But it sounds like he's about as tough as they come. So I'm sure he's going to push through this. I can only imagine how hard it's got to be the first time getting up on the mound, 60 feet 6 inches away,
Yeah.
and facing that again. Like that's the kind of thing that gives people nightmares. It's the kind of thing that's ended careers, not just from the physical aspect, but from the psychological part of it.
Right. The
But
mental aspect.
I'm sure he's going to be able to push through this and come back just as strong. So I'm looking forward to it, rooting for the kid hard.
Well, he was hitting a hundo solid, so he's going to come back. He's going to come back strong.
Right. Well, so rather than put together a formal agenda, we figured that we would kind of look at the position battles that the Padres have on the major league squad while we wait for the minor leaguers to all check in. They've got their mini camp going on, but the minor league camp hasn't quite opened up yet. But there's a lot to talk about on the major
Yeah.
league side. They've got a huge roster still. They haven't started making any roster cuts, and we're already seeing some of the minor league guys filter in, which is always a little bit fun and interesting. So take us through, lead us off on these position battles here.
Well, so for left field and for the bench, with left field, before the signing of Jason Hayward and Connor Joe, I was really hoping they were going to give Tirso, they were going to look, okay, it's your job to lose. But I think with those two signings, and with Eggy Rosario kind of taking some left, in fact, he's in left field again tonight. I think this is the second time he's played left. Made a pretty good catch, and so was Tirso out in left field. But it looks like that left field spot is going to be between Jason Hayward and Connor Joe.
Manny
Eggy's
Machado
at
was a late
third.
scratch. Manny
That's right.
Machado had some kind of back tightness going on, so Eggy's actually playing third base today, and we got Jason Hayward back out in left field.
Okay, he was originally going
But
to be
yeah,
left
to your
field. Yeah,
point,
yeah,
right? Yeah, and he's
yeah,
played some left field, and he's looked okay out there. He's not going to be Gold Glover. He's not going to
yeah.
be who's the guy from the Royals that won all those Gold Gloves in left field, but if you want somebody to just be able to fill in out there, I think that's kind of where his role would be. But yeah, Connor Joe and Jason Hayward looks like that's going to be the thing. And then Tirso is going to be waiting in the wings. And
Yeah.
if we come to the end of May and Hayward's hitting 220 and Connor Joe's playing more first base than anywhere else, and Tirso's down there in AAA absolutely smoking it, then I think you give him a shot. So I think it's Tirso's job to earn at this point rather than his
Yeah.
job to lose as it would have been a month ago.
Absolutely. I mean, he did have the great year. He was the minor league player of the year. He's having a solid spring so far, so early. And I think you're right. I think what's going to happen is if one of those guys are struggling, well, they're both. It's going to be lefty. It's going to be matchups. Connor Joe against lefty, Jason or Connor Joe against the lefties. Then Hayward's going to bat against the righties, and then eventually, Tirso's going to go to El Paso and do what he does. And like you said, if one of those guys start falling off and they're just not seeing any value there, then I think that Tirso was going to come up, and that could be, that allows Tirso it's not so much pressure. You want one of those guys to be there to be able to, to get him in and to be a backup for Tirso not to have all this pressure on him, being the starting center fielder on opening day. So I think it's a good job for Preller of doing that. A little disheartening on my side. I was really hoping to kind of, what we've heard from Raul Padron, what we've heard from Pete Zamora on how well he's done, not only with the bat, but with the glove and his first step in his defense. But I think this is the smarter move. We're always the rah-rah guys, like give him the job before he even earned it. But I think this is a great idea for have him, as the season goes on, and maybe if there's even an injury during spring training that maybe he gets the opening day roster spot.
Well, development is not a linear path, and
Yeah,
he's taken a long and winding road to make it to where he is. But now he's on the 40-man roster. He's so that resets the team control clock, if you will. They can option him 3 times, so they can take their time until he tells them that he's ready. But you've also got Brandon Lockridge. You've got Gavin Sheets, who's an interesting piece. He's a non-roster invitee, but he's made a pretty strong case
yeah.
to be added to the roster at some point, maybe to start the season. He could play left field and first base. So there's some interesting pieces all over the place. And then you just see who plays well, because all of those guys have done really well so far.
Heck, Mike Bousseau, Mason McCoy, Nico Goodrum. Yeah, Gonzalez, is it Orlando Gonzalez? Is it
Oscar Gonzalez.
Oscar Gonzalez has been every ball he hits is like 110 miles an hour.
Yeah, he hits the ball hard. He's been spraying it all over the place too. He's where okay, so he's one of these guys that has a high strikeout rate. He struggles putting the ball in play with, but when he hits the ball, he does damage. So you bring him here with Victor Rodriguez, I believe, is the hitting coach.
Yep.
Maybe there's something because he preaches that high contact spray line drives all over the place, that Petco Park approach that they talk about, and Zamo even referenced that a little bit. I think Raul Padron did as well. That they're trying to tailor these guys to perform at Petco Park and at some of these NL West venues where
Yep.
it isn't so advantageous to just try to go for broke and launch fly balls, that you've got to put the ball in play. You got to spray it all over the place. So I wonder if he might be somebody that you see kind of a little change for the better in him. So yeah, he's a dark horse for sure.
And then Forrest Wall, who was a minor league invite as well, he's already hit a tank. He's playing some pretty good center field, but that he's going to have to be. If these guys don't make the big league club, they have lots of depth in AAA, and some of those guys are even going to fall down into AA. So I think we have a strong support, in AAA with the team, and then we'll see how the roster winds up as the season goes.
Depth is something that a month ago I thought this team was lacking. I'm looking
Yeah,
around and like, okay, you've got a handful of superstars in the middle of your order. You got some good pieces filling out the rest of the positions, a couple of question marks. But behind that, I saw practically no depth. And now I look around and I'm seeing quality depth at every position right now. And really, the catcher is kind of where I feel like the team's a little bit thin. And maybe they could use another bat just as a solid bat in the lineup, but
yeah.
there's good positional depth that they're going to have in AAA. I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day. I feel like the Padres have changed their philosophy on how they're using AAA. It's no longer a finishing school for prospects. It's more of a holding tank for MLB reserves. So
Right.
they're signing these guys on minor league free agent contracts that have a little bit of MLB experience. Maybe they're former top prospects that never quite made it, kind of the 4A guys that maybe there's an adjustment that they need to make that next step. And those are the guys that are filling up the roster in AAA rather than players that have come up through the system. And granted, part of that's because of all the trades that have happened. Because we would have seen some of the guys that went to Miami; those guys would have been filling in AAA this year. But still, there's a lot more depth now than I thought there was going to be a month ago.
Yeah, and that's what Zama talked about. Was he talked about? We talked about development. How about these guys? What we're doing here is we're getting these guys ready to contribute to the Padres going to the playoffs, to contribute to the major league team, not to get to be a better ball player, but to contribute to the team in the major league level. So that's what's more important. So having these guys that, are 4A guys that maybe put it together, what comes to mind, who's the vibe guy? He's
Tyler Wade.
Yes, Tyler Wade, one of those guys where, he has a role and he knows what his role is and he's embracing it. And he's one of those guys where he's not going to, light up the charts, but he's going to be one of those guys that supports the team and fills in where he needs to fill in. And he's good with that. And I think a lot of the guys that they have in camp, I think almost every organization has this guys that just want to make the team, but also want to be able to support the team throughout the season, because it takes more than just those 40 guys. It's going to take more than those 26 guys, to get through the whole season. So we'll see how that goes.
And speaking of Tyler Wade, I know you listen to Ben and Woods a lot. Did you happen to catch the Tyler Wade interview?
I
They
did not.
interviewed like a
This
dozen people, and
Right.
they had Tyler on. He was so good. But one of the things he was talking about, they asked him like, okay, personality wise, everybody seems to gravitate towards you. He said that with Mike Schill, he is allowed to be himself. He doesn't feel like he needs to kind of stay in his lane or, be have a certain kind of personality. He can just be himself and do what he does. And that spreads among the people in the clubhouse. And I love hearing that kind of thing because you hear these successful teams and they all talk about chemistry, that you can put all of these stats together, all of this talent on one roster, but if they don't get along, they're not going to win. But you
Yeah.
put a couple of pieces in there that maybe they aren't the superstar player, but he can do anything. He can play any position on the field, and he's the guy talking to everybody, hyping everybody up. Maybe that's a little special sauce you sprinkle in there.
Absolutely, and you saw a lot of that with some of the videos. He was in the middle of the videos with the David Peralta video with I can't remember what they were chanting. They were chanting something. He was in it. Him and Jackson Merrill have buddied up, and now they're best friends. They're besties. Um, and that's what you had. You had those guys that know their role and are just allowed to be themselves, and that allows them to be a better ball player. And I think that's a good thing that you talk about with with the club, with chemistry, is like if you know if you have to be someone that you're not, stay in your lane, rookie, or hey, you're not a starter. Why are you in all why are you acting like this? That kind of sense of that's gone. That mindset is gone. Like everyone that is there is welcomed, and I think this happens a lot in a lot of organizations, but particularly as we see it a lot here in this one is like guys come up and they talk about it, like they ask some of the minor leaguers, hey, how'd you feel in the they've embraced me, they treated me like an equal. That's not like sit down, rookie, you better do what I tell you. It's that mindset of like you belong here and let's treat you with respect because you do belong here.
Let your soul glow.
Let your soul glow. So
So
speaking of soul glow,
before we move on to pitching, I want to point out Eggy Rosario has no minor league options remaining. So that means he needs to stick on the big league roster, or the Padres need to do something to move him off, designate him for assignment, or whatever. I hope it doesn't come to that. And the way he's playing so far, I think he's going to earn a spot on this big league roster. And last year, a couple of pleasant surprises were David Peralta and Donovan Solano. Well, Solano, right-handed hitter, plays third base, little first base, can play some second base. That sounds a lot like Eggy Rosario. I
yeah.
know Eggy's not the contact over power. Eggy's more power over contact, but maybe there's some development that he can find there. I'd like to think that Eggy can fill that role that Donovan Solano did a year ago.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. So you have Connor Joe that does that. Connor Joe, it's was one of those, not a crutch, but just one of those guys that doesn't put all the pressure on Eggy. Like he'll get his game, he'll get in once a week. He'll fill in there. But you also have Connor Joe that allows that same, he has that same utility that leaves the pressure off the new guys that are coming up. And Eggy, I don't think needs like he knows he belongs, and I think I think we think he belongs as well. But just in case you start you maybe don't get a couple of hits, or you're just kind of struggling, you have that backup and a guy with like Connor Joe who can play all those positions and kind of lead the way. And once again, if Eggy starts taking off and doing well, maybe there's room there to have a little more playing time, and they'll just kind of play for playing time.
Yeah. And we also know that AJ's never done. He signed
Yeah,
Solano and Peralta like a few weeks into the season last year, and we saw the impact that they made. So there's a lot of spring still left. There's what, a month until opening day. I'm sure this roster is still going to see some changes between now and then.
absolutely. So let's get on to the fifth starter, man. I tell you, I was really surprised seeing Ryan Berger get the opening. It's first game of spring training, but it's almost, it's the first game of spring training, and he got the first start. And it doesn't mean anything, but I think it says a lot. And it's early in spring, so guys that the first week or so, the pitches are way ahead of the hitters. You got plenty of live ABs back in the in the complex and the backfields, but nothing really changes. Nothing really it beats actual game action. So having him come out twice has thrown really well. Is really encouraging. And no, he's not going for a spot, but what I think he is, he's really setting the tone for himself and the Padres to keep a really deep look at him going on as the season progresses.
Right. Yeah. I mean, these guys are making an impression right now. And so, we know that teams use 10, 12 starting pitchers as the season goes by. And so there's going to come a point in May, June, where a couple of guys are hurt. They need somebody to fill in, and they look down in El Paso, or maybe he'll be in San Antonio. And if he's put in a couple solid months, pitching the way that he is right now, it seems like he's become much more comfortable pitching to contact. He's not afraid of filling up the zone and letting guys make contact, especially when you've got that defense behind you.
Yeah.
A little different pitching in front of a double A defense on double A field conditions. And now you've got Manny Machado, Jake Cronenworth, Xander Bogart. I mean, you've got really, really good defenders all around the place. So it's almost comfortable pitching to contact because they put it in play, it's going to be an out.
Yeah, and so we'll get through spring training and we'll see how it goes. I'm pretty sure you'll probably start in El Paso, but once again, it's the Pacific Coast League, so he does not throw incredibly hard. He has to mix up his pitches. He has to have that control. So we'll see, as the spring goes and he can get some more starts and gets deeper looks. Ruben gets under his, gets his hands on him and see how it goes. But yeah, I'm really surprised with how well he's pitched. Matt Waldron has just been stupid fun to watch. The pitching ninja, he has him on blast every time he pitches. And once again, it's spring training. These guys aren't used to seeing knuckleballs, but having these guys pitch so well so early, I think says a lot.
Have you heard what the team's biggest challenge with Matt Waldron is? Finding a catch partner.
Right.
Nobody wants to
Right.
play catch with him. Because you're playing catch with him, you think you're used to everybody just hitting you in the chest. And you watch these big leaguers play catch, and they're just, I mean, their precision is like that. But with him, you might get a black eye just playing catch.
Did you hear what Ethan Salas said about it? I think
No.
Sam Levy asked him, "So how do you like catching Matt Waldron?" Like, I don't know, man. He just try to catch it and not get hit.
Yeah. That's the same thing you've heard from the guys that caught Wakefield and all those other guys. Just try to
Everyone.
keep it from going to the backstop, really.
Yeah. So who else has kind
So
of
you
showed up?
got so we got Randy Vasquez, Matt Waldron, Kyle Hart over from Korea, who I feel like you're obligated every time you mention him that he won the KBO's version of the Cy Young Award.
Right.
Johnny Brito, Stephen Kolek. It's a pretty solid competition for that number 5 spot. I think Hart is interesting, being the lefty of the bunch.
And he is also signed to a big league deal, so it's almost his job to lose. And we have not seen him in pro action, and we haven't seen a lot of the main starters. Your King, your Darvish, your Cease. They like the control of the backfield, so they're getting the work in, but they're getting it in more of a controlled environment. I think it was Darvish who said he likes, getting his work in back in the backfields. It's more controlled, and you can pause and you can talk about stuff as you're pitching instead of actual game action. Um, that says a lot to those guys, not having to, be on the big league field. They're going to be in the rotation. They know what to do. They need to get ready, and getting ready in the backfield suits those guys better. I don't necessarily need to see them every 5 days here in spring.
So Kyle Hart, I've got roster resource from Fangraphs up in front of me, and they list Kyle Hart as having 2 option seasons. So
Okay.
I guess they have that option to be able to send him down to the minors if they want to. But I mean, if he pitches well, he should probably be that number 5 guy, especially being
Yeah.
the only lefty. Well, now you got Nick Pivetta, but you got to have a lefty to mix in. I know in the past the Padres have gone righty heavy, but it just seems right. I don't know why. But
Well,
so you're talking about the backlot action. I
yeah.
want to take a little detour here for our friends that go out to spring training. And I've learned, don't set your agenda. Don't go buy all your tickets in advance. Don't mark everything in pen that you want to do. Oh, I'm going to go to Marysville on this day. I'm going to go to Goodyear on that day. Don't do that. You'll find out. You go to the backlots in the morning, and then there'll be little whispers around. And go, oh, they're going to be playing a simulated game on the backlots over here. Oh, Michael King's going to be pitching. Oh, Adrian Morejone's going to be pitching. And
Yeah.
you find out that there's this whole, and it is the coolest experience because there's like maybe 30 people standing behind the screen, big leaguers right there. It's like you're at a high school ballpark,
Yeah.
and you're sitting on the aluminum bleachers, and there's like 30 people standing around, and half of them are coaches, and there's a couple broadcasters. You go talk to Bob Scanlon, you go talk to Sammy Levitt, just hanging there taking notes. I mean, it is such a cool experience. So don't book up your whole trip. Leave some space open because these big leaguers that you're saying haven't pitched in the big league games, they're getting their reps in. They're just
Yeah.
getting it on the back lots in the afternoons.
Yeah. And it's fun because you get to watch the reaction to the hitters, and you get to watch the reaction, like it's competition. So, if you get punched, if Manny Machado gets punchy, like he's like, damn, you get to see this fun reaction with these guys as they compete. What I've seen this year is it is very, like, they have guardrails up everywhere. So you're not walking around too much around those back. I think it's field 1 and field 2. It is very, very cordoned off. And what I've seen, there's just so many people now that go to spring training and spend the time in that backfields. But you get a little bit closer. You just get closer to the players, and you get an opportunity to get an autograph. Then, if you want, you can go to the backfields and watch the minor leaguer guys, and that's where I like spending my time. We've already talked about. Are you guys going this year? Aren't
We
you?
are. We're going out there on the 13th for that
Okay.
weekend.
So we've talked about it. We're going next year. We're like finally Liddy brought it up. I usually don't bring it up, but we've had a couple of trips we've taken this early this year that we wanted to take. Had to go back to Connecticut, and we also went back to Hawaii, and we've never been to Hawaii before, so that kind of took up a bulk of our travel plans. But we're gonna go next year. We're gonna do what we can to get credentials and do what we can to get our some content. But like, I'm a backfields guy. Like I just want to hang out in the backfields and it's field 4, field 5, field 6.
Yeah, last year we went too early, so the mini camp was going on, but all the minor leaguers hadn't checked in yet. But yeah, you go the second half of spring training, and those backfield lots, pretty much every weekday, there's a game going on two or three of those backlot fields. So you'll have a team come over from the Guardians or one of the other teams in
Yep.
the Arizona League. They'll bring their double A guys, and it's their double A team playing the Padres double A team, and you've got a real umpire up there. It's a fake game situation, so the rules aren't hard and fast. Maybe you'll have they'll mess around with stuff a little bit, but still, it's game action. You're sitting there watching everything, and sitting over there in the stands is there's that guy's girlfriend, there's that guy's mom, there's
Yeah.
there's an agent over here, and then behind the screen you see a couple of scouts hanging out along with a bunch of coaches and players that aren't playing that day. It's just it is
And
so cool.
that's the whole thing. You got like every backfield, every backstop has players behind it. So if you want an autograph, if you want your son or daughter to go get an autograph from a minor leaguer that you guys know, they're more than welcome. They're more than happy to sign autographs. And that's the kind of cool thing. And like you said, we run into parents all the time that recognize us, and I'm like, oh, hey, how are you? It's
They
just
say they
fun.
listen to the podcast. I'm like, wait, you've heard of
Right.
us?
One of the 5 people that listen to the podcast and watch it on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
but before the end of the season, we were talking about there was just and where's the pitching. So the Pavetta signing has done well. The Kyle Hart signing, Johnny Brito, Kolek, and those guys have all taken a step forward. So I think that depth in the pitching, the starting pitching, has been is there that we were kind of worried about kind of all offseason as we watch other teams just pile on players and, the Dodgers just pile on all these players. And, I think we're going to be fine.
right. And you led off with Ryan Bergert. We didn't even mention him in this fifth starter hunt. You also have Omar Cruz. Juan
Yeah.
Nunez is the Rule 5 guy that they picked up. I'm not sure how he's going to slot into it. We still haven't seen him yet this year. You got Austin Krob, Wes Benjamin that they just signed. He came over from Korea. Braden Nett, and then a whole bunch of other minor leaguers that we haven't even seen. Jackson Wolf. Efren Contreras just came back on a minor league contract. You've got Reese Kinnear that they just signed again on a minor league contract. So
Yeah.
there's some depth back there.
Yeah. And Braden Nett, God, what an absolute stud. Needs a little work on the control, but God, just come out. He's pitching tonight. I don't know. Do you have the game in the other side? I don't know, but he started the game.
Yeah,
Jagger Haynes will be
it's top of the second. Mariners lead 1-0. He's got runners on second and third with 2 outs right now.
good.
So
Good. You want to get a little traffic there, give him some
yeah,
experience there. But he actually Nett saw a major league lineup. And like he did very well. And we're going to see Jagger Haynes later on tonight in that lineup as well, or in the rotation.
yes. Oh, I was excited to hear that.
And let's talk about the bullpen guys like Bradley Rodriguez. Yeah. Hi, welcome to Friars on the Farm. We've been talking about that guy for about 2 years now, and he has
I
been
know.
absolutely electric in the minor leagues. And now people are starting to see him and like, yeah, he's that good, and he's not that far away.
You know what got me about him wasn't just like I knew the stuff was electric, but the
Yeah.
swagger. Like he's got some presence up there.
Yeah.
He's got some cockiness behind him, and I like that.
Absolutely. Omar Cruz, the changeup. That is the changeup that has been his calling card since he's been in the system, since he left, came back. That changeup that you guys saw, you see, is legit 80 grade changeup.
Right. So we got Sean Reynolds, who unfortunately right now is in a walking boot, but hopefully that heals quickly. Alec Jacob, who has just been baffling so far this spring. Tom Cosgrove has been a little bit rough, but
Yep.
I'm sure he's one adjustment away from finding that command again and missing bats. Ron Marinaccio, who just came over from the Yankees, interesting player. Juan Nunez that I just mentioned, and then Ryan Ock was also mentioned. So these are all we took some stuff from AG Casavel's article about position competitions here.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Reynolds kind of, push back a few weeks, several weeks, that opens up a spot in the bullpen. So I think there's going to be an open spot in the bullpen for someone to grab just, to kind of hold the place of Sean Reynolds. Alec Jacob has absolutely looked filthy. And I know it's early in spring and these guys haven't seen arm angle and movement on pitches, but God, does he just look like coming from outer space?
I feel like he's somebody that you don't really want to let him see that too much because now
Right.
they've got these VR setups and these like hitting cages where they can simulate all this. So like somebody can put on the goggles and see what it looks like to have the pitch coming from this really odd spot and this weird movement that he has. But I guess there's no replacement for actually seeing live at bats.
Absolutely. Yeah, Francis Pena that's pitched really well. Like there's lots of depth in the bullpen. Most of those guys aren't going to make the squad. One or two, the Sean Reynolds spot there, and maybe one other spot. But there's going to be depth in El Paso and further down where, throughout the season, those guys are going to come up and get a shot, get a cup of coffee, and see if they can't help the team win and maybe even earn a spot.
Jose Espada is an interesting guy. He came up and made his major league debut in 2023 and then went to go play in Japan last year. He was a fun Twitter follow for the year. He got a nickname of Padachan while he was over there. So he's back with the Padres on a minor league deal. And then Eduardo Nunez is somebody that they picked up. He was released by the Cubs, and he's got electric, nasty looking stuff, high 90s gas.
Yep.
He's always had a problem with walks. Well, somebody who pumps high 90s gas always had a problem with walks was Jeremiah Estrada. He came over here and Ruben Niebla did his magic and was able to get the command issues whittled away. Maybe Eduardo Nunez is going to be this year's Jeremiah Estrada. Who knows? There's
Absolutely.
a long list of interesting relievers.
You know what I love about Estrada? He's just such an aw shucks kind of guy. He's just so happy to be. He's like one of those guys where like, oh, your dream just came true. You're a major league player and you're really good. Throw in that personality, like he just doesn't like it's almost like he doesn't belong there just by the way he acts because he's just so happy to just like you said, he's himself, and that being himself is friendly and talkative and kind of really outgoing. You don't see that a lot from major league guys, and you're seeing that with him and with Tyler Wade. That it's just great to see some personality in players instead of the stoic, yeah, help you go out there and help the team best I can. Yeah, it's all a good pitch to hit, just trying to get, just like you see some personality there. It's kind of fun.
And he's got a couple of cute puppies. Do you see
Yeah.
that photo shoot?
Well, are those his puppies or was that just puppy
Yeah.
day?
Those are his dogs, and
Oh,
the little brown one is a brand new puppy. They just added to the family. So the shot where he's got the
yeah.
mitt, and the puppy's head is sticking out over the top of the mitt. That's just such a cute shot.
And also Brian Hoeing is dealing with shoulder stiffness, so he might not break with still really early in spring. We still got a solid 5 weeks left. But there's some opportunities there for guys to kind of step up and really get a hard look by the major league staff.
Right. Brian Hoeing is somebody that had been mentioned as being stretched out as a starter, would be part of that fifth starter competition. Maybe this changes his timeline or his role. Who knows? Like you said, there's a lot of time left in spring. But yeah, that's a lot of interesting competitions all over the place. And so then the other competition that we kind of skipped over here is catcher. So Elias Diaz was brought back, former All-Star, pretty good defender. He's got
Yep.
power in the bat. Luis Camposano is the incumbent who kind of lost his job last year. Martin Maldonado is the veteran brought in, and then Brett Sullivan has been in the organization a long time,
Yep.
and he's kind of on the outside looking in right now.
And yeah, uh, Diaz and Campusano are really going to battle it out with Sully, Martin Maldonado. I feel like it's going to be Diaz and Campusano, and then Maldonado and Sullivan in El Paso. I really want to see Campy have a good, strong spring. Um, he hasn't got a lot of, once again, he hasn't got a lot of action in the games up front, but he's getting a lot of action in the back in the backfields, and I think that's kind of important. But we want to have him have a really strong spring and take a step forward. I almost called in to Bennett Woods. I almost called in to people on Twitter like this. The Campusano, like, has got to stop. Like this, I can't remember the word right now. I haven't eaten all day. Just the slander has got to stop. Like, the kid is a major league catcher. Is he going to hit 300 and hit 40 bombs? No. Is he going to be a Salvador Perez? No. But he is a very good catcher. He can hit the ball. Just got to let him develop at his own time. And he can develop at the major league level. You just got to give him the chance. I know we've given him chances in the past few years, but like, people are giving up on this guy like he's thrown away. Like, this was our catcher of the future. Ethan Salas is 2 years, easily 2 years away. Easily. I don't see him coming up next year. Maybe next year. Like, we'll see what happens this year. If that bat continues to go, and I'm a big Ethan Salas fan, he is the catcher of the future, but he has not proven himself in Double-A. And he has a long way to go to be able to push for that spot. And right now, it's Elias Diaz and Luis Campusano, and I'm a Campy. I'm Team Campy.
Okay. I think
Campy
Salas.
camp.
I think Salas timeline might be a little quicker than you think. I'm
Okay.
on Team Salas. I could see him maybe getting a call up in September. And if he has a good year this year, we've seen guys struggle with their first taste of Double-A, and then the second time they come around, they figure it out. He's
Yeah.
got a lot of other stuff to look at too, being a catcher. He's got all the mechanics, all the game prep, all learning all the pitchers, all of that. And the catcher's got the hardest job of anybody on the field, bar none. But I mean, he keeps impressing, and so far in
Yeah.
camp, he's looked really good on both sides of the ball. So I think he could be in that competition when we're sitting here talking this time next year.
Yeah.
I think you're right about Maldonado. I think he's the AAA catcher this year, waiting for his chance to get that big league check again. And Brett Sullivan, he has no minor league option, so I think he's the odd man out right now. And unfortunately, I think that means that he's probably looking at being DFA'd and hopefully clearing waivers so he can stick in the organization.
Yeah. And let me go back to, like, Salas came in, he's looked like he's put on some muscle. Um,
Yeah.
he's saying all the right things. He's talking about making the job. He wants to make the big league team, or if it's anywhere in the organization. Like he said, he's doing everything right, and he is on his way. He is the future. And he looks good. Like, he started to grow into his body, and he's still so young. Like, that trunk, the legs, the back looks strong. Like, he's coming to camp looking like a catcher.
Well, and the quality of at bats that he's putting together at the plate too. Like,
Absolutely.
he'll get behind in the count and then he'll fight off. He'll work his way back to a full count and then he'll line one into the gap somewhere. I mean, he's got such a mature approach for a kid his age.
Absolutely. Him and, Leo Dallas DeFreeze, who has done really well in camp early. He's not hitting for average, but those at bats, like, you see these at bats from these guys, and they're going down, like you said, 0-2 and having a 10, 11 pitch at bats. And he doesn't look overmatched most of the time. And that's what you want to see from DeFreeze. And the glove, you saw the plays. He's made some really good plays. Little miscue here and there. There's a lot of growth there, but like, he's looked really good in camp. And I think he's turned some heads with the major league staff as well.
I think the difference you're seeing there between Salas and DeVries is a little bit of pedigree and a little bit of experience that
Yeah.
Salas came up around baseball players, around professional baseball players. He was doing all of the showcase stuff. He was playing in all those, traveling all over the place. And then he's got another year as a pro ahead of DeVries. So a little bit more experience, a little bit more, I mean, composure isn't quite the word. But just, more time
Relaxed.
under his. Yeah.
Yeah. Calling a kid like maybe 6 months younger than him a kid. Dad, the kid's good.
Yeah. Right. Oh man, well we've got a game to tune into
Yeah.
before Braden Nett's done. He's going up against Brian Wu. That's a tough matchup against the Mariners. He's got 2 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 3 strikeouts on only 1 walk. That's pretty darn good so far.
Yeah.
But I'd like to go catch the second half of this game. How about you?
Absolutely. So, meanwhile, you guys, you can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at SD Donovan.
I'm at Zippy_TMS. I guess you take the underscore out for Blue Sky.
Yeah. All right.
All right, let's go Padres. We'll see you next
Go.
time.
Go Padres.